Welcome back to the Rick Shiels Golf Show podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Rick Shiels. I'm back with co-host Guy. How are you, pal?
Very good. How are you?
I'm good. I feel like we've got too much to talk about and not enough time.
Got loads of time.
Look at it. You go away for a week and the golf world explodes.
I was on holiday. I was in New York. Had a great time, but I was absolutely glued to my phone on Twitter. Hashtag LIV Golf. Hashtag PGA Tour. Looking at the rumours, and it was mental.
Well, we're going to come on to that without question. We're going to have a proper chat about LIV Golf. The positives, the negatives, feedback. You, sneakily, undercover, actually went.
I went put a little moustache on. I went... and sunglasses,
yeah. But first off, did you have a nice holiday?
I did, thank you. I went to New York, as you know, and did all the tourist stuff. Ate like an absolute pig, but weirdly didn't put a pound on.
No way.
Because of the walking.
Oh,
seriously.
Loads of steps every day.
Unbelievably. I did 30,000 one day, and every day was like 20k.
What?
Yeah, it was mad. So I was getting up, having huge breakfasts. Is that right? Breakfasts? Yeah. Breakfasts.
If you had multiple breakfasts.
I kind of did, because we had omelette, potatoes, toast.
So there you go.
Then I'd get like a massive pack of M&Ms, just eat them. I didn't even want them, just eat them because I'm on holiday. Why not? Big lunches, burgers, all that kind of stuff. And what's annoying is the Dr. Pepper. I'm a big Dr. Pepper fan. It's loads more sugar than ours, like triple the sugar. So I was drinking that like there's no tomorrow. Over the top, but I've not put a single pound on yet. Crazy. It might hit me in like 2 weeks' time and I'll wobble in. But so far, so good. But it was great.
We'll talk about walking. I'm going to express something I'm doing this week, which might just, even though you're doing 30,000 steps a day, I might just pip you.
I think you will.
But we'll come on to that. What was the best thing you did in New York?
Oh, that's a good question. A boat trip around Manhattan Island was nice.
Was it good?
Seeing all the city. Went to the top of the Rockefeller Center, looking over the city. That was good. Watched Harry Potter on Broadway.
Nice.
That was good. It was 3.5 hours long though. Did get a little bit bored.
Yeah.
But it was long, but it was good. Loads Central Park.
Any running?
No, it was just pure walking.
Just walking.
And they also have different flavours of Monster that you can't get over here. So I was just reminiscing.
Shocking.
Going to the 7-Eleven all the time, buying cans of Monster.
You can get the red one.
You can't get the red one anymore, but you can get the orange one, which is my old favourite.
Interesting.
But it was good. But as I said, I was absolutely glued to my phone, I'll be honest. We did this little thing where we'd go out for the day, come back to the hotel and have like an hour's like little sleep rest, and then go out for like the kind of evening. And that hour / half an hour / 2 hours, maybe sometimes 3 hours of relaxing was actually scrolling, and it was looking at LIV Golf on Twitter.
Well, I just want to get a clean take on this. This is my thoughts on LIV Golf.
Oh, wow.
First off, I genuinely believe the golf world has never seen so much publicity outside of the world of golf this week. Like, it's been on BBC News, Sky Sports News constantly. Massive articles written about it. Like I said, it's all over Twitter, all over Instagram. You literally would have needed to be living under a rock if you've not seen this week that LIV Golf had its first ever invitational event at Centurion Club just outside London this week. First of its kind, 54 holes, shotgun start, 48 players who were then made up from a draft party into 12 teams, including the Fireballs, the Crushers, the Majestics, which weirdly was my favourite team actually.
Yeah, it was because it was English.
Numbers of differences we have never seen in the world of golf ever. Huge prize funds, record-breaking checks being written this week. No cut. Every player in the field made lots of money. New signings were announced even while the event was going on.
Yeah.
Like literally live breaking news. Yeah. So it started off this week. We saw Dustin Johnson's being the headline player, followed by Phil Mickelson.
Yes.
And then there was a selection of a lot of very well-known players. Lee Westwood, Ian Poulter, Sam Horsfield, Charles Schwartzel, Brandon Grace. The list goes on. Louis Oosthuizen. Major winners. Former world number ones.
Yep.
Ryder Cup legends have all taken a gamble to play in this event because they didn't know the ramifications of playing in this event until they literally teed it up on that Thursday morning or Thursday afternoon it was here in the UK. And the flyover of the planes and the beef eaters were doing the trumpets on the first tee, and then when they put their ball in the ground and teed off, it got announced from the PGA Tour that they would all be suspended.
Yes.
Wow. Lots to take on.
I tried to think on the drive in today how best to almost like articulate my thoughts on it, and I'm really struggling. And I don't want to kind of sit on the fence, but I think to some degree my overriding kind of point is probably going to be quite on the fence, because there was parts of it that I really enjoyed, and there was parts of it that I didn't enjoy and I almost hate. So it was really weird. And like you said at the start, I actually went on Friday. So I was still off work last week, obviously, as you know. And on Thursday night, I was thinking, should I go and watch it? And I thought, no, it's 3 hours there, it's 3 hours back. I'm not that bothered. And then I thought, well, it's not going to be in England again for...
Till next year, maybe.
Till next year at best, potentially. It's the first one. And although everybody can rightly so have an opinion on this because of where the money's coming from and lots of different reasons, you can't really have an opinion on the actual event itself unless you've been really... Because what you can see on social media can sometimes be not quite true. So, for example, the things that LIV were putting on made it like it was like a rock concert, the best thing since sliced bread. And some people on Twitter were making it like it was absolutely dead and it was just absolutely a ghost town. And in reality, it was somewhere kind of in the middle. But it was, from a fan's point of view, if you went to that event and you didn't know where the money was coming from, let's just put that, I know it's a massive, huge issue, but just put 1 minute, let's just put that to one side. If you walked in, it was very good. It was very well organised. You went in, you showed your ticket, you got kind of scanned and searched, you felt kind of very safe. You went into kind of the tented village area, and it was nowhere near as big as like the Open would be, obviously, but it was very good. There was loads of places you could buy food from, drinks from. The toilets were really clean, which might again sound silly, but it's things that you want on site at a golf event.
Good from a spectator, you could see a lot.
You could see, yeah. I went to go and watch Dustin Johnson, Phil Mickelson, and Sam Horsfield. Now, obviously, that was the marquee group, so it was quite busy. It was about 6 people deep. That felt more like actually at an Open. Maybe not like obviously going watching Tiger or somebody, but it felt like watching, a middle of the road to high level name at the Open. That kind of level of busyness, if that makes sense.
It'd probably be like seeing that group at the Open.
Yeah, it probably would be, to be fair, because although these guys here are huge names at the Open, you might also have Rory on the next tee, Justin Thomas. So kind of that business would have got more spread, if that makes sense. But yeah, you could see the golf really well. You could certainly watch some other people in almost like one-to-one, because the guys that aren't as big a name obviously had less of a following, so you could get even closer to those guys. As I said, the tented village was great. They were selling merch, which looked good quality, but I'm not sure many people would want to be wearing a Stingers cap just yet.
Were people buying it?
People were buying it, yeah. I actually saw, believe it or not, with my own eyes, a considerable number of people buying stuff, walking around with the caps on, the LIV Golf caps, the franchise team caps. Genuinely, people buying it.
Because that's something I didn't pick up on from the YouTube feed.
Yeah.
Like I didn't, from visual, I didn't watch every single minute, but I didn't see anybody with an actual team hat on.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't people fighting over it in the last few, it wasn't rammed, but there was notable people buying them. And the demographic was really quite interesting as well. It was kind of fairly young in the most part, but equally it wasn't just young kids. There was older people, but the big thing to remember here is I think 90% of people had got free tickets.
Yes.
And if they'd have kept that original price of £70, I think it would have been a ghost town.
Well, we covered the price of the tickets quite a few weeks ago. This was before
stupid.
All the names had even been announced at all. Not a single name had been announced, and it was way too expensive. And obviously, they had a big U-turn on that because they mustn't have sold any tickets.
Yeah,
a lot of the players were giving free tickets out, and I must admit, I didn't know how many people were going to turn up until I turned on YouTube with 15 minutes to go before the shotgun start, and I looked around, I was like, wow, it's busy. I didn't get a gate number. It would have been in the thousands. Was it about 15,000 a day?
Yeah, I'm not fully sure. I know Sunday was at capacity. Sorry, Saturday. I keep wanting to call it Sunday. Saturday was at capacity. It felt busy on the day I was up, which was the Friday. I don't know the exact number. But from that point of view, you couldn't really fault it. And certainly for the first one, that would be the one where you'd think, if there's any teething problems, this will be the one. And from my eyes, when I was there as a spectator, you couldn't really fault it.
What was watching the golf like in the shotgun start capacity? Yeah,
well, that was
live.
Yeah, that was weird because we went again straight to go and watch Dustin, so it was naturally very busy. But what's weird is they kind of, I don't know if this is good or bad really, but it's weird. The tented village was rammed. Then it goes 15 minutes till tee off, whatever. There's like an announcement, and then it kind of opens up. Everyone moves away. So we then went to the golf course and followed those guys for a little bit, and then we kind of ended up almost weirdly making our way back to the tented village because of where we're located. And it was still, it's a lot more empty because obviously most people are on the golf course watching the golf. There was still a bit of a vibe there. There were still people mulling around and buying drinks and getting food, but it felt a lot more quiet than like it would do at the Open. Because at the Open, again, there's people always at the tented village having a drink, having some coffee or whatever.
Because typically, if you go to the Open, you would want to get there very, very early, and you'd want to be there till very late.
Yeah.
Because the first tee is typically before 7 a.m. and then it continues till way past 7 p.m. Where the event there, that wasn't the case. Like you leaving Manchester, or for a 2 o'clock shotgun start, you had loads of time to get there. Yet you didn't feel like you were probably missing out on anything, did you?
No, that was the thing. But we only stayed for probably 3 hours. So we were there for less time than each side of the journey took us, to be honest with you. But I didn't really want to go and see the golf, bizarrely, because I've seen that, thankfully, so many times at the Open and stuff, and I'm sure I'll luckily get to see it again. It was more to see the actual event. Yeah. But what was interesting, though, you think like people are naturally online having lots of negative things to say, which we will come on to for several reasons. I wonder how many people were also kind of in that camp but just wanted to go and see it for themselves, and if it will keep that level of interest going forward.
From my angle, I didn't go to the event. Just for this one, I wanted to kind of watch from a distance to some degree, and I watched a lot of it online. As a lot of people know, it was free on YouTube, which anyway, for any sporting event, is a massive plus.
Yes.
For it to be free, 0 adverts, and anybody in the world can watch it. And again, I've seen a lot of really good points online. A lot of younger people, YouTube is their TV. That's what they watch everything on, thankfully. Thank you, everybody. From a production standpoint, I thought the production was very, very good. I thought the golf coverage was very good. For, again, a first event, there was loads of cameras out on the golf course. There was things like Shot Tracer was out there on the actual tees. That's actually the Shot Tracer we use.
But it wasn't all the time, though, was it? That was the only thing that was a shame.
Yeah, I think that could definitely be improved. From a watching as a spectator, again, on YouTube, it looked busy. It looked like there was an atmosphere. The players looked relaxed, definitely, and there was kind of a really nice vibe that was coming through the screen. The commentators were obviously very experienced. They've been doing this for years. I felt like it maybe lacked a little bit in difference. Like the commentary wasn't different to maybe what it could have been. That suited behind the desk is what we've seen all the time on PGA Tour and DP World Tour. That could have maybe been a little bit different, a little bit more interactive and a bit more innovative. We talked about innovation, about making things different. I don't feel like the commentary was as different as it could have been. Leaderboard was bizarre down the left-hand side.
I didn't mind it being on the left-hand side. I get that. I wasn't a fan of these abbreviated names. I just didn't think it was necessary because it's what they do in the F1, but it's what you know in the F1. But I was looking at some of the names, even the names that you know of, and you had to kind of take a double check as to who is that. And because the logo at the side was the current like team logo, that again didn't help you. If it had like a logo of the flag they're from, like it would make it easy to go, that's Sam Horsfield because he's English. But that was a bit weird.
I loved and genuinely watching it. What I did like, it was 2:15 tee off shotgun start.
Yeah.
The coverage started at 1:45, or pretty much, I think it was, or was it bang on 2 actually? Anyway, there wasn't a lot of time in the build up. It was kind of like quick. Arlo White was explaining the rules because it was a new concept, a new idea. And all of that energy before was seeping through the screen.
Yeah.
I had like butterflies. I was like nervous for him. I was like, oh my God, this is the first event, the first tee shots. We're going to see Dustin Johnson here. Like, this is big. It feels like there's something happening here in the world of golf. From that point, I reckon I watched 15 minutes and I was like, oh, I'm kind of done now. I've got my fix.
Yeah.
I've kind of seen what it was, because from that point, it was actually quite hard to follow. I found it quite challenging to understand who was actually doing well. That you had the leaderboard, but people starting on different holes, and have they gone through an easy stretch where there's a couple of easier par fives, and have these guys gone through a couple? So I found that quite confusing. I found that quite hard to follow.
When it says at the top, like, 16 holes to play, and then it goes to like 17, and then sometimes 15. It's on that person, isn't it? So some obviously, even though it's a shotgun start, some will play quicker or have shorter holes to start, so they'll have less holes to play.
Yeah.
And that was a little bit confusing. But yeah, it was one thing on that though, the YouTube factor. One thing that and this isn't a revolutionary thing, but one thing I like is the fact that, again, with YouTube, you can pause it. So I was, I think I said to you before, but I was out and about watching it in the car and I was stopped, and then I had to start driving again, paused it, got back home, just press play. Well, you can't do that on I can't on like my Now TV where I would watch the European Tour. I can watch it on my phone, but I can't like pause it and stuff. So that was a big selling point for me.
There was the other positive from the live stream is the fact that you can actually right now, I'm literally on the YouTube channel, you could watch all the coverage from every day. Weirdly, day one, the live stream, which was a shame because it would have shown the numbers of how many people were watching, I think they had to delete that and upload almost a recording of it. Because what happened was it started at 2. Did you see this?
Yeah, they had all the bits before.
All like the pre-production was already kind of on there. So I think they had to delete it and go again. But day 2, for example, this is a live stream on YouTube, 5.5 hours, had 590,000 views.
Yeah.
And the final day, live stream, 6 hours, 7 minutes, 775,000 views. And they won't be unique viewers. A lot of those might have jumped off and come back on. But I mean, that's a lot of eyeballs on a golf event.
It is, and as I said, those parts of it I enjoyed. I quite like how it's shorter, 54 holes. It weirdly feels like it's a lot shorter, doesn't it? Even though it's just one round, it feels a lot shorter. It was quite easy to digest, the fact that it's shotgun start, it's in a 5-hour package. I wasn't sold on the teams just yet. I think that felt like an afterthought. I think the idea of teams, when we had the interview with Andy Gardner from the Premier Golf League, which is a very similar proposed golf league, that was a couple of years ago, the concept of teams for those guys was going to be very much that you could have actual like franchises, that in the off season people might get sold like you would in football. And it was that excited me, and that may be what this becomes in a couple of years. I think that is the idea.
I think that's what. These are placeholder team names.
Yeah.
I feel
So let's
just
say you have team TaylorMade, for example, and you've got 4 guys who all use TaylorMade equipment to wear similar clothing or whatever, a uniform. One of them has a bad season or has a great season. Next thing, Team Callaway come with an offer and it turns their head. A bit like the F1. You can imagine that being really, for me anyway, I would like that, and that would give you that kind of off-season excitement. I thought these random teams made no sense, really. No. There was obviously a South African team, an English team, but they were thrown together. I thought the names on the whole were appalling. Having said that, if you said to me, think of 12 golf team names, I don't know where to start. Yeah. But some of them 4 Aces was horrendous. That was just something like a primary school would make. Fireballs just felt ridiculous. Ironheads, I mean, some of them were all right. Majestics, potentially all right. But
there was like Punch Golf Club, Stinger Golf Club.
Some of them were horrendous.
But in a weird way, already, and it sounds ridiculous, first week, I've not got that list in front of me. We reeled off probably 6 or 7 of the names there. Out of 12.
That's true. But then will they stay? Because obviously some of these guys now are going to have to be kicked off because we know that Bryson's coming, Pat Perez is coming. Patrick Reed's coming. So that means that 3 guys are going to go. So, and those guys, certainly Bryson feels like he's a captain material, and Patrick Reed probably is as well. So it feels that the team feel a bit kind of phony at the moment, an afterthought. And even when I was watching it, I was never once thinking about the team element, really. And that kind of comes on to my next point, really, is I was very intrigued to watch it. That's a big word. I was intrigued like you were. I couldn't wait to see it actually in real life and see what it was like. Was it going to fail? Was it going to be okay? Was it going to be good? And overall, I would say it probably was more on the good spectrum.
Well, considering that a lot of the golfing world, certainly the golfing world from PGA Tour, wanted this thing to fail.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
ridiculously.
Definitely.
I thought, considering how much things were stacked against it, they did very well.
Yeah, but like obviously last night, which we'll probably come on to as well, but Rory won his 21st PGA Tour title.
He made that very clear.
Which is one more than Greg Norman, which is like, he made very clear. But for me, when you think of a golfer winning a major or a PGA Tour event or a DP World Tour event or LET, whichever, a serious event, whether it's the first one or it's one that add into their collection, it makes you look at them in a different way, in a positive way. So, when Danny Willett won the Masters, he's not just Danny Willett anymore. He's a green jacket
He's
owner.
A Masters champion.
Exactly. When I remember years ago now, when Phil Mickelson won his first major, I remember him not being, he was always the best player to have never won one, and he finally won one. I don't even know what year it was early 2000s. I remember it though. And it was like, he's now a major champion. And you could even look a little bit lower down the scale, but when Richard Bland finally won on the DP World Tour, it's like, you have now won on the DP World Tour.
Yeah.
With this, Charles Schwartzel won the first ever event. You know, he's already a major champion. He's a big name. He won, I think, was it $4 million? And
it's the single thing I couldn't overlook this whole event. The number one thing, I did not care for 1 second how much money these guys were playing for.
No.
It didn't, for me, for 1 second, make it more interesting.
The only thing that I thought about it that made it arguably more interesting, but was in a negative. So Andy Ogletree, and he has been, I mean, he's only a young guy, but he won the US Amateur, he won the low amateur at the Masters when Tiger won, so 2019. He can play golf. As of late, he's had very bad form, but he's naturally getting invites to things because he was the US Open, US Amateur champion, sorry. He shot 24 over par in 3 rounds of golf, which can happen, but, you know, terrible level of golf, let's be honest, and won $120,000. Now, that doesn't really sit right, does it?
No, there's definitely, I don't feel like last place should you almost, there should be a point. I don't mind the no cut because, again, from a viewer standpoint, if you'd bought tickets and you're taking your dad and your brother on, let's say, the final day, and you'd promised them that you're going to see Dustin Johnson, you're going to see Phil Mickelson, and they wouldn't have made the cut, you wouldn't have seen them. The fact you can guarantee they are going to be there is a huge benefit for the TV guys or YouTube, whoever going to stream it, and the spectators that go in live.
Yeah,
I almost think there should be some level of, if you're not within 20 shots of the leader, that's when you don't make money.
Yeah.
So you can still be there.
Yeah.
You're still going to see your favourite golfers. But if you're not within 20 shots or whatever it may be, 25 shots of the winner, you shouldn't be able to make money from that event.
Well, I'm not being rude. I'm trying to pull up here. So Sam Horsfield, you know, friend of the channel, been on the podcast, been on obviously the main channel.
We'll have to get him back on again and ask what he thought about it all.
Well, he came 5th, and he very nearly came 2nd, actually, but he came 5th and won, in dollars, obviously, $975, so nearly $1 million. So I think this exchange rate now is not that great for us. So it's probably not far off it. Let's say 900 grand sterling. He won on the DP World Tour, and he won 300,000 euros.
Wow.
So he's essentially
tripled it.
Yeah.
Quadrupled it.
Well, yeah, not, more like tripled it, I think. I don't know the exchange rates, but roughly, let's just say tripled it. You can see why these guys are tempted, can't you? Certainly the guys like a Sam who are early in their career, who want to kind of set themselves a foundation. A guy like Richard Bland, who, you know, is getting to although it's the peak of his career in some ways, you'd argue more like the end of his career because of his age. The ones that I think, and naturally a lot of people have an anger towards, if you like, is your Dustin Johnsons. I believe his fee for signing on was more than Tiger's ever won on the golf course.
Is it $125 million?
I believe so, and I think Tiger's won like 120 on course. Obviously, he's got loads more off course.
Well,
naturally.
weirdly, this weekend he was also announced as
a billionaire,
third sports billionaire. What a time to get that title, by the way.
Well, that's the thing, but you also think with, you know, when you look at the names now, you actually have got a handful who are still super competitive and competitive in majors. You know, you've got Dustin. You're going to have, well, Bryson's not been brilliant, but really, you've got Bryson, you've got Patrick Reed. You know, Sam Horsfield is on the up. You've got, I'm trying to think of any more names on there that really you'd expect to see. You know, well, Louis Oosthuizen does well in a lot of the majors. You have got now, roughly, let's say, 6 or 7 guys on there who are genuine, elite, world-class golfers. How many does it need before it almost, you know, look at the strength of the PGA Tour, it's ridiculous. But how many does LIV need before it is a real threat?
This event, the London one, will be the weakest field LIV Golf ever have.
You think so? Yeah.
You can almost, you know, it's not going to get weaker from this point because you're adding more talent. I think there's going to be a lot of talk this week at the US Open. There's going to be a lot of talk between players who played in the LIV and players who didn't. There might be some persuading going on. There might be some encouragement going one way or the other. It also might be quite frosty.
Yeah.
It might be quite a hostile environment this week for some of the guys who played in LIV, certainly if they're going over to the US Open and, you know, they're walking past someone who is vocally against it like Rory McIlroy. They're not going to be best friends this week, are they? Let's be honest. I can't imagine. So there might be a lot of locker room talk. There might be a lot of meetings with agents and management. And it wouldn't surprise me the next event, which is in a couple of weeks' time, there'd be a lot more players signed up. Personally.
Yeah, it's a funny one because obviously the early guys, let's be honest, have gone for the money. They've used other excuses as well and said they love the shorter format, they love the team element, but ultimately they've gone for money. And there's not really been anyone massively, apart from maybe Richard Bland, who's come out and said that. But somebody like Rory has come out and said he wants to play on the PGA Tour because that's where the best players play, and I believe that. But ultimately, if more and more do start to go, and I mean, I can't see it, but if it happens where LIV is literally where the strongest players are playing, would Rory almost be forced to move?
Well, I remember him saying that a few months ago now. He doesn't want to go. He's made that very clear, but he does want to play against the best players in the world.
Yeah.
And if that's where the best players in the world are playing, I could imagine him being forced to move over there potentially. The next event is in 2 weeks in Portland.
Is that Pumpkin Ridge one, or is that the one after that?
That's Pumpkin Ridge, yeah. So in this time, I think in this 2 week period where players have seen the event, 100%, a lot of players on the PGA Tour would have been watching that live stream these last 3 days and going, bloody hell, how much is... I can beat Charles Schwartzel. I can beat him. Do you know what I mean? Why am I not making $4.5 million? You're also going to get potentially partners, wives, girlfriends, family going, you can beat Charles Schwartzel. Management going, you can beat Charles Schwartzel. Suddenly you're going, yeah, probably, you know what, I could. Why am I not earning $4 million? Do you know what I mean? For 3 days work. But genuinely, from a fan, from somebody who loves golf and loves kind of, I'm not a diehard, I don't watch every single event. And I actually think it would have been impossible to watch every event this week.
Yeah, we couldn't.
But I like watching majors, I like watching exciting golf. Hand on heart, the money that they were playing for didn't make it any more interesting for me one bit. In fact, I almost feel like the money has completely overshadowed the whole event. I feel like the outlandish...
It wouldn't be here without the money, would it? That's the thing. It's
like
chicken and the egg.
Crazy sums of money these players are signing up for. The crazy money they're playing for. And obviously, where the money is coming from is a huge sticking point for a lot of people.
Do you think, and rightly so, and it should be, and I don't pretend to be educated enough or politically aware enough to really have a proper understanding of this, but do you think, and rightly so, that's been such a big point here now, will that almost dilute in time if this event gets better and the players get better, and in 6 months, in a year, in 3 years, will people still feel that strongly about it?
No. People will overlook it, I believe, is my opinion. I believe that people will be very vocal on this first event that we saw, and rightly so, like you say, the human rights issues, the way that the Saudis have treated people. It's obviously very well publicised. The fact that they're pumping so much money into it, the talks of sports washing, that gets branded out a lot. What are their intentions in it? Is it from the growing the game? Is it to build this amazing tour? Is it to pump money through sports? It's very, very interesting. But I genuinely believe every single event, I'd be surprised if it didn't, I think people's opinion, if it's a really, really, really good product, if it gets better than what it was in London every single time, I genuinely believe people will kind of overlook it. Rightly or wrongly, but I believe that's what will happen.
You know what's interesting, though? I'm not getting into this debate massively, and the people in the comments who will be much more articulate, I guess, and knowledgeable than I could ever be. But with the whole sports watching thing, I understand the concept is that you pump money into something to take the conversation away from your terrible human rights and look at this glossy golf league we have, and that concept makes sense. But on the contrary to that, if anything, I feel, and again, I'm far from educated, but I know a little bit more about the terrible things that happen in Saudi off the back of this league. So in a way, it kind of works oppositely. It's like, can it do both? Can you say, you know what, I'm now a little bit more aware, or in some cases a lot more aware of how terrible things are in Saudi. That's atrocious. I don't believe in it. It's not how the world should be. That's one thing. But you could also enjoy the golf as well. Like, do you get what I mean? Yeah. Like, I definitely know a little bit more about it now, and I probably should learn more and more about it. If this golf league hadn't come about in the last year or two, I wouldn't have probably known any about that stuff.
it to some degree almost publicised it a little
That's
bit more.
what I
doesn't
mean.
it?
Yeah.
What was also very interesting, talking about the money, and I don't believe it'll ever happen, but it was quite an interesting headline. At the presentation, Yazir announced that any player that would shoot 54, which is like the perfect score, so 18 under par on a par 72, would be awarded $54 million.
It's cool, but it's never
gonna
going to
happen.
answer things.
It's
It's
never
like
gonna happen.
we could say that. We could say we're going to donate £1 billion, someone that shoots 18 over 18 holes. It's not going to happen, but it's interesting.
Done right now.
But yeah, I think what's interesting, can it keep this excitement? The next event, I think it'll have the excitement because Bryson's going to be playing. You know, that attracts it. That attracts me. I must admit, I'm not a massive Pat Perez fan or follower, or Patrick Reed. I don't massively like, but I'll be watching it for Bryson. But then, like the third event, if there's nobody new signed by then, it's just kind of the current field that we know about. Will I still be as excited as I was for the first one? I don't feel like I will, but only time will tell. So they will have to keep innovating and keep, you know, really strengthen this team side of it to actually make it fresh and make people keep tuning in week after, well, no, it's not week after week, but event after event. It's
I think because it's 8 this year and 10 next year, I think it's enough. It's small enough to potentially build that momentum.
Yeah.
If it was every week, I think it would fizzle out a little bit. It's a bit like F1. F1's not every week. There's only a certain amount of events, and you can kind of get excited for those certain events. I asked a question on what did people think on about LIV Golf Invitational on Twitter and Instagram. Very different responses.
I think Twitter will be more against it.
It was polarized without question. You know, quite literally, I'd read one comment that's saying, this is the best thing ever, you know, amazing for golf, and this, that, and the other. Literally, next comment saying, this is horrendous. I can't ever watch it. This is terrible. It literally as split as that. I also did a poll on Twitter, and this is quite different. This is Twitter poll. Nearly 8,000 people voted. 34% was for LIV. 38% was against LIV, and 28% was neutral. So as a whole, majority was against it, but a lot of those neutrals could probably go either way. And you'd probably say on Twitter, slightly older audience than Instagram, because on my Instagram, very, very interesting. I did a poll again. 29% loved it, only 20% hated it, 50% was not decided.
Oh, wow.
So a much more kind of open-minded aspect on Instagram, and again, slightly younger audience.
Where do you sit?
It's a great question. I was undecided when it kicked off. Mm-hmm. I was unsure and not quite seeing which way it was going to go. I went into it incredibly open-minded from a product.
Yep.
Forget anything else. Forget what goes on behind the scenes, but from an actual product. And I thought it was good, not brilliant, could be better. I was interested, but as you mentioned, would I be interested every single event? We'll have to see. So I think at parts I tipped to loving it, and parts I dipped back into undecided.
Yeah.
I don't believe there was ever a time where I hated it. I was kind of somewhere between undecided, love it, undecided, love it. That's kind of where I sat. What about yourself?
Yeah, similar really. Like I said, there's parts of it that I really like. Certainly they're streaming it for free on YouTube. I think that's great. I think the shorter format was good. I think the only thing right now that I'm not feeling, which I don't think you ever would after the first event, is almost this glory of winning one. It doesn't feel like, I don't look at Giles Schwartz any differently now. I don't think it's any more prestige. And even if somebody that was a smaller name had won it, I wouldn't have felt any, I don't know, I don't feel any more. You know what I mean? Like I said yesterday, Rory won his 21st event on the PGA Tour, and it's like, that's some doing that. Just to win any event on the PGA Tour is ridiculous. You know, you're beating the best players. It's a PGA Tour event. This doesn't feel like that. But having said that, I suppose, sometimes when the European Tour's in some mad place, do I look at that and really, I don't know. So it's difficult.
Who won, and what was the feeling when the first ever Canadian Open was won?
Yeah, exactly.
There probably wasn't that prestige then and there, but give it 5-10 years potentially, I don't know, it's like, oh my god, you've won LIV London. Oh my god, that's amazing. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go.
Who knows?
We will wait and see.
Yes.
What was interesting though, as we saw before, PGA Tour have suspended the players. The majors at the moment have not kind of pin the tail to the mast, so to speak.
Well, the US Open's letting them in, isn't it?
Letting them in. I can imagine the Open letting them in.
The Masters
might be a different one. And that's the one that probably a lot of the players will be gutted about playing in. Not playing in, sorry. LIV Golf at the moment is not, you can't win, can't be awarded world ranking points as yet, but there might be some collaboration with the Asian Tour that could have let that. Where does the DP World Tour sit in all of this?
Well, that's a very sticky one because, as you know, it's been announced, was it a year or so ago, whatever it was, that the DP World Tour, ex-European Tour, and the PGA Tour have this new strategic alliance. So they're kind of in some level of partnership, and obviously PGA Tour have banned everybody. But equally... Suspended everybody, sorry. But the DP World Tour, as it is in the name, is sponsored by DP World, which is obviously over in the Middle East, in Dubai, and from what I believe and what I've been told, which may be incorrect, I don't know, but Dubai and Saudi Arabia are very close allies and get on very well. So if they ban people, DP World probably won't be very happy. And also, at the end of the day, DP World are paying a fortune to sponsor the European Tour to have good players on there. And if, Sam Horsfield is now banned, and if DJ can't go and play over there if he wanted to, and it's going to start being a weaker field and less advertising, less eyeballs potentially. So I wouldn't be surprised if the DP World Tour do allow them, but who knows?
It would surprise me if they stood really strong because they need players.
Well, imagine if they could have an event where DJ turns up to get some world ranking points. They're going to love it, you'd imagine.
Love it. Like, say, you look at the British Masters that we went to a few weeks back. Imagine, I think that was the only thing that was missing. Those really headline players. Like, the probably the biggest headline player playing that week was Danny Willett.
I can't even think now.
Who hosted it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously, headline player, won the Masters. If you could sprinkle in some Mickelson,
Bryson and Mickelson and Dustin,
do you know what I mean? That could really work for him. So that'll be very, very, very.
The only thing that is bad, and this is a problem for just life in general, and irrelevant of the money coming from Saudi or not, it's terrible, really, how money can just buy stuff, isn't it? Like, crazy. It sounds obvious, but you can just, if you've got enough money, you can start a golf tour, you can get the best players, and you go, look what I've done, just from money.
And you can make it as good as what it was.
Yeah.
All the camera, because that wouldn't have been cheap. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy.
And I know it's not really about being sustainable, but there must be a point where they don't want to keep losing money. They've paid out, was it $2 billion they had to start with or whatever?
I think that's where the franchise is. That's probably what they're banking on in the future. That if they can build these franchises out, and let's say a TaylorMade or a Red Bull or somebody, come in and build it out properly, I think that's where they make the money back or recoup some costings anyway.
It's a strange one, and we'll be sat here in a couple of years either, and it'll be the big thing, or I'll be like, do you remember that LIV Golf?
But a bit like, these are the same guys who have bought Newcastle Football Club recently, right? Are they doing it? Are they trying to make money from it, really? Are they just a bit of something to do?
I think we can't comprehend the wealth, can we? So to us, naturally, to everybody in the world, $2 billion is an absolute fortune, obviously. To those guys, it's probably not, really.
Aren't they worth, outrageous amounts?
I don't even know. I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, try and find that. What's also crazy this week, and it really is, history was made on the DP World Tour this week, and it's not really getting talked about at all, so I definitely want to give it some airtime. In the Scandinavian mix this week, which is the Henrik Stenson and Annika Sorensen event in Sweden, there was the first ever official lady winner. So Lynn Grant, who had an incredible final round of 8 under par, so finished the tournament 24 under par, winning by 9 shots over Henrik Stenson, won the first ever European or DP World Tour event.
Yes.
First woman. Record breaking, same prize fund, same event. The only difference was, and it's definitely a talking point, of different tees. Mm-hmm. So the gents played a golf course that was 7,000 yards. The women played a golf course that was 6,400 yards. I wasn't sure how that kind of was perceived in the general golfing world. I actually spoke to Sophie Walker, we had on the podcast last week. She mentioned that a lot of the women actually don't fare very well in this event normally, and there was only actually 2 women in the top 20.
Wow.
Lynn Grant being one of them, and obviously she absolutely walked away with it. But it wasn't as if the golf course was so uneven that all the women did incredibly well and they dominated the top 20. There was only 2 in the top 20. But this Lynn Grant had gone out and absolutely killed it. I didn't watch it live. There was too much golf to watch this weekend. But her final round highlights were incredible. She played phenomenal. The other interesting thing, this was also live streamed for free on YouTube this week.
Yeah, as was the PGA Tour as well in parts.
As was the Curtis Cup.
Yeah, I saw that as well. It was almost, I think, that's...
Welcome to YouTube, everybody.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it? That ultimately, I suppose LIV Golf could have some huge negative effects for the viewer, for the fan and whatever. But equally, in a lot of ways, competition can be good. And if it can drive more, free golf onto YouTube. And as I said before, for me, it's not about the fact it's free, because I'm fortunate enough I've already got Sky on my phone anyway. It's more the fact they've paused, isn't it? I know it sounds ridiculous, but for me, that's a massive... a lot of people have Sky on the TV, they can pause. I don't have that.
It's more the fact that, for you from a personal standpoint, but there is a lot of people who got into golf by watching it on the BBC.
Yeah.
When it was free to watch. No adverts, it's free. Are we getting back to that a little bit more? Like, as I mentioned before, the new up-and-coming wave of young people, young golfers, hopefully future golfers, consume content on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and if it's free and they know how to use it, it's all there. It's like their world.
I think that's definitely a starting point, but I still think we've got a job to do, or the tournaments do, to make make it a good viewing experience, because you can't just go, it's on YouTube, people start playing golf now. Because I watched some of the PGA Tour last night on Sky, and there was so many cutaways where it cuts to trees. And then it'll be honestly, 30 seconds. And then it'll shove a leaderboard on top of it. It's almost B-roll. It's this is boring. And then it'll finally cut. And start again. Justin Rose was on track for a 59. And it did show his shots, but it very slow. It didn't cut back. It was dead slow. And it was just talk about that more. He's hopefully going to shoot 59. He didn't do. But it wasn't the best. PGA Tour don't do the best coverage at all.
I've definitely seen glimpses of the PGA Tour this week doing things slightly different. And it, without questions, come from LIV Golf. Yeah. Because if you look, did you see the clip of the locker room of Tony Finau, Rory McIlroy, and Justin Thomas getting ready?
No.
So it was like in the locker room.
That's quite cool.
And you were seeing them put the shoes on. You've seen them chat to each other. You were seeing Tony Finau getting kind of those guns, Theragun on his back. You were seeing him kind of get dressed to some degree and having a bit of a chat and talking about the weather. And it was like, oh, this is
different.
It kind of felt a little bit forced.
Yeah.
It was almost like, guys, we've got to do something different here. We've got to get a camera there. And did you see the crane at the Canadian Open as well?
That was
there was this massive crane where you could actually book a seat on this crane and you could watch the golf from an aerial view. Again, something a little bit different. Again, the PGA Tour this week, the Canadian Open was live streamed on YouTube for free. They were definitely doing things different. For the PGA Tour, they couldn't have dreamt for a better retaliation than what Rory McIlroy, Tony Finau and Justin Thomas and Justin Rose gave them last night.
No, 100%. And I ended up putting it on to watch as well. But will that continue? Can they have those names every week? I don't know, but that was definitely the week to do it on.
Yeah, they couldn't have written it. I don't know. I've not got a clue how much money he won.
No.
Don't care.
Don't need to know.
It doesn't bother me. It's the one thing I honestly
don't
don't care.
The Open, the Masters, you never know. I mean, you might hear about it, but you don't ever think, do you, when they're going down 18? Oh, Danny Willet's going to win $1 million, whatever it was at the time.
The only time I ever think about it is when it's like, let's say a Sam Horsfield and go, good for him.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm friends with him. Good for him. Well done. But for these guys, how much Rory McIlroy worth? Millions and millions. I don't actually care how much he wins. They could have paid him $10 million. Wouldn't have bothered me.
But could LIV get to that though? They're plowing all this money into it now to get the guys over. Once we get used to them winning $4 million a time, but you might have, let's say, Bryson, potentially a Rory, a filmmaker, Dustin, etc., and there's 3 of them battling out at the end, and one of them wins. Would it be more about, oh my God, he won?
Yeah, well, that's it.
It could be that, but it's going to be a long time
the
till it is.
The FedEx at the end of the year,
it's
like $25 million. Honestly, don't care.
Yeah.
I know the players will. Of course they will. They're thinking about it. But as a viewer, I couldn't care
The
less.
only thing I did think about the money this time, actually, to be fair, was a little bit, as I said earlier on, about how the guys that were playing so bad still got so much. And I also thought about a little bit more, like when it was the last few putts, that if they missed it, that was going to lose them like 300 grand. And it was that little bit of like, that putt is worth £300,000. Like that was the only time I really thought about it. But yeah, other than that, it's not a big thing.
There was a little bit of beef going on, interviews, social media. Rory again mentioning in his winning speech that he's now won 21 PGA Tour events. He made it very clear that that's one more than somebody else. He was referring to Greg Norman with that statement. Obviously, Greg Norman being the CEO of LIV Golf, the front man, so to speak. Jay Monahan did an interview it was on Sky Sports, but Jim Nance interviewed him, asked him some really tough questions. Like,
I've not seen that yet.
It's really good. Asked him some really tough questions because as much as Jay Monahan, who is the commissioner for the PGA Tour, he has retaliated with a letter as soon as the guys teed up on that Thursday at Centurion. He's not been out and publicly said anything. In his interview with Jim Nance, I don't know, he didn't really make it super clear why he'd banned these golfers or suspended these golfers. Yeah. It was almost like, I'm protecting the PGA Tour members who are loyal, but he didn't really say, I banned them because of this. It was almost to some degree, I think he made a statement along the lines of, why do they need to play in the PGA Tour if LIV Golf is so lucrative? Yeah. And it was almost him saying, well, they can't have the cake and eat it.
Literally what I was going to say.
They literally can't do it. They can't go and get in bed over there and come back and get in our bed as well. Yeah. We're not having it. So basically that's what he's kind of come out and said. But quite literally, there's no reason for these golfers not to be able to play everywhere they want. There is no actual, there's no law being broken as such. But the interview is very good. It looked a bit on edge and like I say, it's definitely worth checking out. I'm trying to think what other takeaways there was from it. He mentioned about how the product PGA Tour can get better, and he said it's going to get better. The next 10 years is going to be the best 10 years. That easy to say. How's that going to work out? A lot of people have said online, competition is good. Yeah. Like when competition is good, like we've seen it in YouTube. Yeah. Like we don't make a disguise when we watch good golf. We're going, but hell, that's quite good. That's quite well shot. Okay, we need to up our game.
100%.
And and that's what we want to do in YouTube world. If we see something that we believe is better, we'll continue to evolve and get better with it. Is that what's going to happen in professional golf?
Quick question. This might be a random point, but obviously at the moment, the best players still live on the PGA Tour for now, and that may continue to be the case. It may not be. But there's been a lot of comments, people saying, oh, I don't want to watch LIV Golf because the older guys are not as good, and that does make sense. But we also know, and this isn't a silly comment, what it might be, but it's not supposed to be, a lot of people want to watch you play golf, or Peter Finch play golf, or Good play golf, and you guys aren't the best players in the world, which you obviously would admit, but you can get 1 million views in a video. LIV Golf are trying to get the best players, but even if they don't get the very best players, is there an opportunity where their product becomes so good? Yeah, no, you're not playing.
For me to go and shoot.
Yeah, no, is there an opportunity where the product becomes so good and so exciting and so almost bingeable that you actually don't need the very, very best players?
I think you need the best personalities then.
Yeah. Well, is that what they're kind of going for? If you look at it, you've got Phil Mickelson's controversial. People want to watch him. You've got Patrick Reed again, very kind of controversial. And
Perez, good character.
Perez, exactly. You know, Dustin's a bit of a bomber. He bombs it a mile. People want to watch him.
There was a clip in the promo clip. Did you see that where Bubba Watson and Matt Wolff were in the promo clip?
Oh, really?
Of LIV, accidentally or on purpose, I'm not sure. Like, are those characters that they would be seen as? You look at a golfer who would be entertaining, right? Fictional character, Happy Gilmore. Yeah. You go and watch Happy Gilmore, regardless of what he shot, and a bit of what you see at these events, like your Bryson, bit of Happy Gilmore, your Patrick Reeds, your Pat Perez's, your Matt Wolff, funky golf swings, and like. Yeah, maybe these characters. There was microphones on the caddies. Again, I know we're coming back to LIV Golf here now. Microphones on the caddies. I don't feel like that came across as well as it could have done. It didn't. I'd have loved to have properly had these players microphoned and like get in the faces. while they're playing, go and ask them questions.
But that's the thing. If you, again, back onto LIV Golf, I think we can't, this episode of the podcast, we're going to be on it a lot. But if you look at some of the names they've got, you know, your Westwood, your Poulters, you said your Bryson's coming now, these personalities that have been around for a long time and are kind of almost household names, okay, they might not be the most competitive now, but if you look at the top, like, 20 golfers in the world, there's obviously, naturally, amazing golfers. But if you look at Scotty Scheffler, Patrick Cantlay, Sam Burns, Billy Horschel, Xander Schauffele, Matsuyama, Will Zalatoris, amazing golfers. But are they as, at the moment anyway, are people as excited to watch those guys? I don't know. If you want just the best golf, then yes, they are, obviously, because they're the best players in the world. But if you want that a little bit more...
Well, like you said, we've seen it on my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I can play terrible golf, but get ridiculous amounts of views because it's the story. Hopefully it's the personality. People want to tune in. They engage with it. They relate to it. When they see me play well, the great video we had last week at St. Andrews that we released. And I think people really... The comments on that video have been outrageously positive. Mm-hmm. Like the production, the quality, the way you play the front nine, the way kind of I played at the end, obviously the dramatic finish with the eagle on the last. Like, people loved that. So thing is, what I think I'm getting better at is understanding golf is consumed differently in all different ways, and maybe we can have every single way. Maybe every way is possible, and none of it's bad. Potentially, I don't know.
You could end up having the PGA Tour is where the best players are, and it's more almost serious. And it could be that LIV is still elite players who've done great things, or up-and-coming players, but it is more on that team element. It's more kind of fast-paced, and it's a bit more short form, potentially.
I'd like to see all of them work. I don't want to see the PGA Tour or the DP World Tour get weaker. I don't. I want the best Ryder Cup. I do. I want the best players in the world being the best players in the world in world rankings. I want the best players in the world turn up to every single major. And I also want to see LIV, fast-paced, exciting event to happen. So maybe it can all. I don't know. Who knows? Well, last week as well, while you were off, I played in a group, on a completely different note, of 100 golfers.
I saw this. On paper, it sounds like hell.
It was absolutely crazy. So we went down to the Shire, which is an absolutely amazing golf course. We played in the Trevor Nelson Golf Day. Incredible venue, only Sevi designed golf course in the UK. And it was Eric Anders Lang, who you would have seen on the channel before a few years ago in the Isle of Man. He does a series called Invention in Golf with Scratch TV, and he also has his own YouTube channel. But he's kind of created this kind of random golf club community meetup kind of idea. And basically, you come down, you meet up, and we played as a group, as one group. The golf course was closed for people wondering. We shut the golf course down. We played as one group all together as a collective, like, bloody party out on the golf course. Music was playing, drinks were flowing, loads of pictures, loads of, like, fun chatting. Yeah. You partner up with someone you don't know, which I thought was a really good idea. Yeah. So you partner up with someone you literally you don't partner up with anybody you actually know. And you play golf. You played golf in pairs. We played about 4 or 5 holes. The golf didn't really matter. It was really, really, really fun. Yeah. And so different. The people I got to meet on that day was, again, so different to what we'd see as a traditional golfer. Yeah. And loads of them were asking me about LIV and whether they would go in, and they were like, yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested to see how it goes. But yeah, it was quite cool.
It looked, some of the pictures that you shared.
Dangerous.
It looked dangerous. It looked, it's obviously more about the meeting up with people than actually playing golf. Like you said, you can't play golf even remotely seriously with 100 people. But it's a very cool and innovative thing. And Eric's obviously a very kind of out there guy, very forward thinking guy. But like you said, I know you can't judge people off the clothing they wear, but when you look at the people and the outfits they wear, they're very kind of funky and cool. And like you said, a younger demographic, which I don't feel like I see very often in the real world, but it's cool that people like that are playing golf. They feel more like almost a subculture, like a skater world, almost like...
It's almost a bit like urban golf.
Yeah.
It almost feels like it's, like you say, it's almost like street golf. But it is still golf. Like, some of the guys were really, really good. Yeah. And there was also quite a lot of newer golfers, and there was quite a lot of beginners and a few ladies, and there was one guy who'd been playing golf for 60 years, and there was one guy who'd been playing golf for 7 months.
I was really hoping you were going to put some mad outfit on to try and fit in with your really baggy pants and like some cool shoes and your hat on backwards and stuff. Go, what's up? Booyakasha.
And call myself like Ricky.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Ricky S. The Shields-inator. Yeah, I think it was really good. And we talked about dress code earlier. I honestly don't believe there is dress code. I want dress code to be relaxed. I absolutely believe it should be, personally. If it did, I don't think I'd change much what I'd wear. We've spoken about this before.
Yeah, I don't think I would.
I like wearing golf gear.
Yeah.
Makes me feel like I'm playing golf, and
It's
that's
just
okay.
It's just that thing that if you had your clubs in the car and you've been out in other clothes, you have to go home to get changed. Can be, but I'm the same. I think the golf pants I wear now, golf trousers, whatever, are like a really like soft material, are dead comfy. Little quarter zips are fine. Like it doesn't feel like it's that uncool or uncomfortable. So I'm the same. I'd probably just wear this anyway. If I wasn't on holiday, I'd have gone with it. I'd have pulled out a rascal outfit though.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah, I would. I'd have gone with a bucket hat. I'd have had my pants tucked into my socks and worn like Crocs or something. And go, I don't believe I'm wearing golf shoes.
Don't give me that.
Yeah.
I've also signed up to do the London Marathon next year.
Oh my god! So you always do weird stuff when I'm not here. Runs a few 10Ks.
Yeah, I've got to talk about the weirdest thing I'm about to do
that
soon.
is weird.
But so when I was at the Shire, there was the guy who owns it is called Kerry. Lovely, lovely, lovely man. Honestly, lovely. He really, unfortunately, I mean, devastatingly, he lost his son last year, his 6-year-old son, to cancer, and it's horrible. And he's so open about it. He's so lovely about it. He's obviously been through really, really hard times. And in the post that you'll see on Instagram, I was wearing a hat that had like a butterfly on it, and that's his charity. His charity's set up because when his son did pass away, he felt like he got no support.
Right.
It was quite lonely, and he set up a charity called It's Never You, and on the back of it, his little boy was called Hugh, and when his dad's last birthday, Hugh had written him a birthday card, like saying like "Love Dad" here, and he drew a picture of an owl, and he put Hugh. And Kerry's actually had that tattooed on his arm. It's lovely, lovely, lovely. But on the back of the hat, it also said Hugh, written by Hugh himself. And we got chatting, and I talked about what I'm doing this week, which we'll come on to in a minute. I said, I've always loved to do London Marathon. He went, well, I've got a charity spot. Do you want it? And I was like,
oh my God.
yeah, okay, why not?
Wow.
So I'm going to be running for charity for It's Never You. But
you have to keep training up then.
I'll keep training up. So if you ever go to the Shire, in the pro shop, there's like hats, there's head covers, there's towels with this logo, the butterfly logo, and pick some up, donate. It's lovely cause. He's done really well. However, talking about charity and talking about a bit of a mad challenge, and it doesn't feel real yet. Yeah, it's happening tomorrow. Straight after this podcast, we are heading north again. We're going back to Scotland, and we're going filming a Break 75 at Prestwick today. You, me, and the head pro.
Yes.
Prestwick, if you didn't know, is the first ever open venue back in 1860. It hosted the first 12 opens.
No, I think it was 20 odd.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no, so maybe the first one, but it has had 20 odd. Sorry, my bad, yeah.
Was it about 1920s it stopped hosting
1925, I think, was the last one, because even back then there was so many people going to watch, it couldn't fit the infrastructure of having so many people there. And also, it was the place where young Tom Morris won his 3rd Open. So for winning his 3rd Open in a row, I should add, he got to keep the championship belt. I can't think of the official name of it, but it was like the big red belt.
Sounds good to me.
And that is then why the claret jug, he got to keep it. So the next year, there was no tournament because there was no prize. So after that, apparently, I think it was Prestwick, Muirfield, St Andrews, and somebody else all chucked in 10 quid. And that then bought the claret jug, I believe.
That's crazy, isn't it? That is unbelievable. Yeah. So doing a Break 75 there this afternoon, but then from said location, from Prestwick, the first ever open venue, I'm about to embark on a bit of a crazy mission. So if you don't know where Prestwick is, it's on the west coast of Scotland. It's exactly 150 miles if you were to walk to St Andrews.
Which you wouldn't do, because you're not stupid.
Who would walk from Prestwick to St Andrews? This man. This man right here. So on Tuesday morning, I am going to set off. I'm going to announce it properly on social media today, and this clip might be used as well for that. I'm going to set off from Prestwick in the morning. I'm inviting people to come and join me for the first walk of the golf course, around the golf course at 8 o'clock in the morning.
I'll do that one with you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. From that point then, I'm going to be walking continuously with my golf clubs on my back.
Oh, I didn't know you were doing that bit.
With my golf clubs on my back for 26 miles a day for 6 days solid. So 6 marathons in 6 days, walking 150 miles to raise as much money as possible for Prostate Cancer UK.
That's class. It's a very, very good thing you're doing, but it's going to be absolutely solid.
It's going to be hell in it.
I think I've done I was going to say I've done a similar thing. I haven't done a similar thing at all. The only thing I've done that's close is I've walked a marathon. I've done it twice. Once was a Macmillan Mighty Hike, which was really good, raising money for Macmillan Cancer. And that was like, it says a hike that's 26 miles. That was difficult. But about 6 months prior to that, I was meant to do it at another time, and I ended up being ill, couldn't do it on the day, and I felt really guilty because people had sponsored me, including your fine self. So I did my own version of a 26 kind of mile walk a few days later when I felt better, just around the local streets, and it was long. To do that for 6 days in a row with a golf bag, that's the bit that's controversial, the golf bag, because you're going to have to stop and put it down.
And clubs in it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So you have to stop after think about, normally when you play a par 5, if you get a good drive, by the time you get to your ball, you're like quite happy to put the bag down. That's only like 300 yards.
So I'm using my ping bag, the really light one.
Yeah.
I'm going to literally strip it of everything. I'm going to take the legs off it because the legs broke the other day.
Oh,
remember?
yeah.
So I'm going to proper take the legs off it. We're gonna even this afternoon, I'm going to come up with a way where I can get a strap to go around my waist to help with it. I think I'm going to carry all my clubs, or at least a selection of clubs.
I think you should have one ball in there as well, just to take pictures on the road and stuff.
Nice. And yeah, so there's going to be 4 stop-off points. Prestwick, where you can come and join me to walk. That's Tuesday morning, so that might have already passed. Then there's a golf club near Glasgow, which I'll announce again on social media. Make sure you follow me there. There's another golf club near Stirling we're stopping at, a really, 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 really nice golf course. We'll talk about that as well. And then the final stop on Sunday, the 19th of June, probably around about 3 to 4 p.m., I will be arriving in the town of St Andrews and finishing the leg by walking the old course, and the finish line is the Swilcan Bridge. So I would genuinely love for as many people as physically possible to at least join me on that last round of golf. So 19th of June, Sunday, an experience to walk the old course anyway. The old course is shut.
So you walk in the old...
I'm going to walk the old course because it's shut on a Sunday.
Yeah.
It's not stopped me before playing that. No, and then also it's actually shut on Friday for the Open.
Oh, right.
So from Friday this week, the old course is shut.
Didn't know
till the actual Open Championship in July. So if you do want to join me, like I say, follow me on social media. I'm trying to raise as much money as Prostate Cancer UK. The link we'll put in the podcast link, but it's justgiving/Rick Shiels walk 150. So it's walk 150. We've called the actual challenge. So it's walking 150 miles, obviously, from open venue 0 to open venue 150.
That's madness.
Couple of quick stats. 1 in 8 men will get prostate cancer.
Wow.
And if you're over 50 or you're black or your dad or brother has had it, you're at even a higher risk. Wow. So yeah, it's one of the biggest killers in men, if not the biggest killer. And obviously the demographic of the audience is very male dominant. And I just want to raise awareness as much as possible, raise as much money, and completely batter my feet in the process.
Yeah, best of luck.
Thanks, pal.
It's going to be... I think what's good about that, though, is anything you do for charity is obviously amazing, and, it's great. Certainly the last time you did the Walk 18... No, what was it called?
Yeah, Walk
18 raised loads of money. Like, that one, for me, that last one was amazing because it took 30 days and it was, like, a lot of money that you raised. But this one, it's more the actual feat that you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous.
That's the map.
Have you actually thought about it much yet? I feel
like... I've not trained.
Probably for the best.
I've not trained. I've not practiced. I've not really thought about it.
You know what, though? I think it's a tough one with training because you almost can't, because obviously you're fit enough to do it because you can run 10K in a good time and you'll be able to walk that far. The things that will be an issue is things like blisters, which you almost can't train for? Or
So,
boredom?
I've had a few. Yeah, boredom will be a tough one. So, like I said, there'll be spots that hopefully people can join me. There'll be certain times where I can't have anybody joining me because either the road or the track gets too
Literally
narrow.
on your own? Was anyone from prostate cancer
Yeah,
with you?
so I've got like a support team with
Right.
me.
Are they with you every step?
Yeah.
Right.
Showing me which way to go so I don't get
Yeah.
lost. I'll have a live tracker
All right.
on me
That's cool.
all the time. So I'll put the link out to that as well. So literally people can live track me. So if I'm going past your house or your school or where you work, make sure you
Throw an egg at him. There's Rick Shiels.
and then so I'll have a live tracker. I'll be stopping off like I said at certain points.
Your phone, has it ever done that before?
No, I've put a new setting on it.
I don't like that at all.
So
Because
the
you
light
get
flashes,
texts
I
and
know,
stuff. It's
maybe I
really...
didn't think about it someone's just literally sent me a text.
Rick's got that thing where your camera light flashes when you get a text, but he's always on his phone, so just constantly
From a number I literally don't know. I've not
Ring
got
him,
saved. Just
ring him.
saying, call me.
Do you want to do it now?
Do it now. The elevation is 3,290 meters.
Oh, wow.
Obviously, I'll come back down again.
Yeah.
So my mission also is to try and touch. I'm going to touch the sea on the west coast, which is what sea? Atlantic. Is it? Yeah. And then touch the sea in St Andrews, which is the North Sea.
Nice.
Just as a little something. Wash my hands. Anyway, hopefully.
Best of luck.
Thank
I'll
you.
be with you tomorrow morning, and I'll walk around Prestwick, and then I'll be back in the car on the way home, I think.
I don't blame you. Yes, it should be good. So make sure you follow me on social media to get an update of where I'm going, what I'm doing, how you can meet up with me, and it should be great.
Don't forget your eggs.
Oh yes, the top tip. I've been told to put a ridiculous amount of Vaseline all over my body.
Yeah, nice.
So I'll literally slip getting on the toilet. I've got these special socks. I asked what shoes to wear, and Echo told me my golf shoes are best.
Not sure on that shout from Echo. You've been told
Sure,
to get trainers.
Sure, man that told me so.
Well, yeah.
And yeah, that's it. So wish me luck, everybody. Should be good fun. Let's try and shed loads of money. A bit of good in the world, hey?
Yeah.
After all the controversy and all the craziness that's been happening, I'm just going to go out there. I might even turn my phone off.
There's all these rumours of like, how did Rick's golf ball on 18 at St Andrews actually get on the green? Did he cheat? Was it dodgy? He's like, oh, I've got to do some good PR now to change the subject. I'll just go walk a shitload of miles.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Right. Thanks, everybody, for watching, listening. We are now going to head on the road as quick as we can up to St Andrews, go and play some golf, do some walking, and we'll see you soon. So, quick one, housekeeping. Next week's podcast will be a day late.
Yes.
So I won't get back till the Tuesday.
Yeah.
So we'll release it on the Wednesday, and I'll tell you all about it.
Yeah.
As I hobble in the studio.
That was a random podcast, but it was a lot of golf talk, a lot of LIV Golf talk, which is good.
Yeah,
I think
it was what was needed.
I didn't plan anything really because I've been off all week. So
And I never do plan anything.
No, that's good.
So thanks everybody for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed, and we'll see you next week. Like I say, Wednesday next week. Peace.
See you later.